Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here. We're starting with the Dualsense getting an update with an improved battery life. This is being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle, and they say Sony recently released a revised PS5 Dualsense controller model, and it appears that battery life is one of the issues it addressed. As we reported back in October, the new DualSense controllers don't feature a second microphone or the rumored removable battery. Now, a console modder and repairman claims that the revised DualSense battery life is nothing to scoff at. The modder/technician on X tested the CFI ZC T2W series for the DualSense for over 15 hours. Features like haptics, adaptive triggers, the speaker, and mic were used in-game across titles like Astro's Playroom and Fortnite. The result? A marked improvement in battery life that, quote, crushes previous models, including the DualSense Edge. As for how Sony achieved this, the stripped-down controller shows numerous internal changes, which also apparently leads to cooler temperatures in the revised model. So there you go, a pretty significant upgrade for the DualSense overall. I mean, 15 hours of battery life is very good, especially when compared to what you see in things like the DualSense Edge. So let me know if you got a new DualSense or a newer model and how it's been going for you. But moving on to the next topic, we're talking about the PlayStation 6 Handheld. We have another leak regarding this upcoming device, and this once again comes from Moore's Law is Dead. And I'm going to bring a screenshot up here, and there's basically a couple things that have been outlined. So he talked to developers behind the scenes, and he again has been privy to some internal documentation. It says this week, we, the game dev, received emails from Sony pushing low power mode hard, almost like they need us to support it directly eventually. The developer went on to say that Sony provided tutorials and instructions where they outlined, number one, we shouldn't just lower frame rates to fit low power modes requirements. Instead, we should try to maintain 60 frames per second by lowering resolutions. Number two, they mention Razer CPU. This is a CPU utility for PS5 development, and they offered walkthroughs that aim to help us find CPU bottlenecks so we can reduce CPU usage and even look for ways to reduce how many threads are used by our specific game. It is becoming glaringly obvious that low power mode is a Trojan horse for getting PlayStation 6 handheld support ready before its launch, and they honestly seemed a little bit annoyed at how few developers directly support it so far. Now again, this is coming from a developer that has been in contact with Moore's Law is Dead and also provided some documentation. So Moore's Law is Dead has been very accurate with these types of leaks recently, and yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I find it very interesting that Sony, apparently, according to this developer, seems a little bit annoyed. I wonder how they're going to handle this if developers don't really want to, do low power modes for their games. My assumption is it's probably because the handheld hasn't been announced yet, and Sony's not directly telling developers that's the important thing. They're not telling them, like, hey, just so you know, we're going to let you in on a little secret. This is for the upcoming PS6 handheld. Sony's absolutely not going to do that because, it will immediately leak. However, maybe Sony will be forced to do that because it kind of already did leak, and maybe developers are just like, yeah, the low power mode is cool and all, but we're not really going to do that, right? Why would we do extra work for our game just for this low power mode? If they find out it's actually confirmed to be for the PlayStation 6 handheld, we're like, look, if you do this low power mode, your game will run on this handheld, and that could increase your sales potential, right? Maybe then that will change the tune of developers. But pretty interesting stuff we're hearing about the PlayStation 6 behind the scenes. We're going to move on to the next topic here, which is just to let you know that at the Game Awards, it's been confirmed Phantom Blade Zero will be showing up with a release date trailer. So for those who may have forgotten, the developer promised at the beginning of this year that they would give us a release date before the end of the year. And so they're going to follow through on that promise. And yeah, this is a big one. Again, this is a console exclusive, not because Sony made any type of deal, but it's just going to be releasing on PS5 and PC. But the game looks really good. So it's going to be a exciting one to see for sure. But another game that's been confirmed to be showing up at the Game Awards officially is Resident Evil Requiem. We're going to be getting, as they put it, a new look. This is what Jeff Keighley posted on his X account. And so, the big question here that everybody wants answered is whether or not this is going to be the big Leon reveal. A lot of people still believe that Leon is going to be the second playable character in this game, and Capcom has been hiding it this entire time, and they're going to have a big, massive surprise reveal that shocks everybody at the Game Awards. And yeah, I think they will. I still believe, but either way, I'm excited for Resident Evil 9, and I can't wait to see more of it, and it's cool to see that it's going to be at the Game Awards. But finally, continuing to talk about the Game Awards, in regards to this statue, we have a little bit of an update. The official Game Awards account posted another riddle here, I guess. It says, "The blank are silent, blank bleeds, new blank stir." Now, obviously, everybody kind of freaked out about this. Like, what could it mean? What are they teasing? It's worth noting Jason Schreier did chime in once again talking about this, and he recently said on a podcast episode that the game that's being teased is a good one, and he thinks everybody, or a lot of people, not everybody, he said he thinks a lot of people are going to be excited about it. So that's what he had to say, but he also mentioned Cory Barlog's game, and he said he doesn't know when Cory Barlog's game is going to be announced. He's not sure when Sony's planning on announcing that, so I think it might be safe to say, based on what he is letting us know, that this particular thing that's being teased is not related to Santa Monica Studio or Cory Barlog's next game, because he clearly knows what this is, but he knows what Cory Barlog's game is, but he doesn't know when it's going to be revealed. So I think these are two separate things. But yeah, let me know what you think about this, new thing that the Game Awards tweeted out about the statue. I'm going to laugh when it's something super underwhelming. We're going to move on to the next set of topics, though, and this has to do with just how utterly dominant PlayStation was during Black Friday week. So the original source of this data comes from Circana/Matt Piscatella, but we have Shinobi602 on X relaying this data, and it says the PS5 was the best-selling console during Black Friday week in the US, accounting for 47% of hardware sales. That's nearly 50%. Nintendo Switch 2 ranked second at 24%, and the NEX Playground came in third at 14%. The percentages for Xbox were not even posted. This is absolutely wild, in my opinion. I mean, I knew things were bad with Xbox, man, but I really don't see how you look at this and not see it clear as day as like this is the end. But he also posts here, for those wondering, the NEX Playground is a kind of mini console for families and kids that goes for about $250. So this small console device or mini console outsold Xbox during Black Friday week. Yeah, that's sad, man. But looking at the PS5, I mean, the PS5 is going strong, dude. Nearly 50% of hardware sales. I have to admit, I'm kind of surprised it outsold the Switch 2. I know, at least I'm pretty sure, that Nintendo didn't do any Black Friday sales for the Switch 2, but still, because unfortunately the PS5 price did increase and Sony put it on sale for Black Friday, that pricing wasn't too far away from what the Switch 2 is going for. So it's cool, man. I'm happy to see the PS5 is still doing well. The better it does, the more support it's going to get. We want to see the PS5 console in a healthy spot overall. But when it comes to talking about the dominance of the PS5 during Black Friday week, we also have data for the UK, and it's a similar situation. It says PS5 absolutely obliterated its rivals in the UK this Black Friday, selling an outrageous 62% of all console hardware during the week ending November 30th. To put that number in perspective, the newly released Switch 2 in its first Black Friday made up 23% of sales, with Xbox Series consoles occupying 10%, and the original Switch just 5%. But it is worth noting that in the UK specifically, Sony seemed to have marked down consoles very significantly, especially the PS5 Pro. And I saw a lot of people in the UK, they were saying how, this was the time they were pulling the trigger. They're going for the Pro, or they're finally going to upgrade to the PS5. So there you go, man. Sony pretty much cleaning up for Black Friday. But we're going to move on to the next topic here, which, in case you missed it, Netflix is apparently set to acquire WB. This is being reported by Push Square. They say Netflix has entered into an agreement to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery for $82.7 billion, which includes the publishers, video game developers, and IPs. This means that should the deal go through, the ownership of Mortal Kombat team NetherRealm Studios, the Hogwarts Legacy developer Avalanche, and other outfits like TT Games and Rocksteady will be transferred to Netflix. IPs such as Harry Potter, the DC Universe, and Game of Thrones are all included in the deal. So this is something that obviously is a very big deal, not just in the realm of video games, but across all of media. Now, the reason why I'm not reading any statements that were given by both WB and Netflix is because, well, honestly, none of them really talked about the gaming side of things specifically. They're more focused on the movie and TV show side, which makes sense, but I'm going to be really curious to see if Netflix does end up owning WB in that entire gaming division. What does or does not change, right? I think it'll be certainly something that will have some level of impact, but you know, it remains to be seen. But there you go. That's happening apparently. And we're going to move on to the final topic here, which is just letting you know that we have one other game that's rumored to be showing up at the Game Awards. And I didn't want to put this in with the other Game Awards stuff earlier because all of that was like official stuff that's being teased or confirmed by Jeff Keighley. This comes from leaker Kira Casis, who has been accurate in the past. And they said a big Star Wars game announcement is coming very soon, and just to be clear, this announcement has nothing to do with Star Wars Zero Company or Eclipse. But then he follows it up by saying the title of this game ends with, quote, The Old Republic. So naturally, everybody is assuming this is the KOTOR remake, Knights of the Old Republic remake that was announced back in 2021. In fact, it was actually announced at a PlayStation showcase. I don't know if Sony's still involved with this project or not, but people have been waiting for this game to be re-revealed. It went through some development troubles, and we have no idea how it has turned out so far. But yeah, a re-reveal at the 2025 Game Awards sounds about right. So there you go. But guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.